This video is going to cover flare cut. Another term that's being used is transitional cut. I generally like to stay with flare cut because Roger Bliley, who started doing this many years ago, coined that term for the style of engraving, and so rightfully so, it in my opinion, it should be called the flare cut. But no matter what you call it, everybody has a little bit different take on it. And what this video is about really is to show you what I've been doing. What I've done is I've come up with a geometry that works well for me, and people can try it. It's basically a flat graver. And it has a radius teal. It has an angle in the front. I don't know how many degrees it is, because I really don't measure it. This kind of sharpening I usually do under the scope. But you can see the leading edge, which is what I cut with, is further out than the rest of it. And then I also have the side, okay, has a slight radius teal because I'm using kind of the corner of this graver. And in talking to Roger, his technique is that he will start with the wide part of a leaf structure and then cut inward narrow. And part of that is because we're using power assist. Had we been pushing by hand or something, of course, that would be very difficult to do. So I gave it a try, and it works really well. And I started thinking that as I was doing the cuts, I can actually go both directions. So that's kind of what this tool is all about. Let me just go ahead and start cutting, and I can explain as I go as well. Now, it doesn't matter where I start, but if I cut in this direction, then the second cut has to go back the other way. That's basically really all that's happening. And again, we're cutting the flare so that it has kind of a peak, not necessarily in the center, but it slopes down from the center of the leaf structure down to the edges. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll start here and kind of work inward right now. So that means that the cut now has to go back the other way. And I will start here. And I'm going to make this cut wider, so. Now, if you miss it in the middle a little bit, which you can see what's happening there, don't worry about that, because you can come back in and make a second cut. All right, so on this leaf structure, and I don't have it drawn out, perfectly. I just kind of put flow lines in basically, and then cut accordingly. And then what I like to do is make sure I follow through, kind of like shading, all the way back in to the very beginning of, where the line is. Okay, so this leaf structure has got 3 levels to it, so the next one I'm going to go cut back out in this direction. And if I do something like this, no problem. Now I have to cut back this way, and I'm going to lay the tool down a little bit flatter so I can get it wider there. And then the third lobe, as I call them. You see it's appears pretty black. Try to put some side light in here so you can see. There you go. Very bright. All right, so I'm just going to continue on cutting, and through that you'll be able to see basically my approach. And the again, you can see nothing is drawn in perfectly. I just kind of, and that's one of the fun parts of this type of scroll, is that you don't have to draw everything in perfect. You can kind of, it's not that you make it up as you go, but you have the basic form, and then you can try some different things, and it's a lot of fun, really. Okay, so I leaned it that way, so now going back in this cut, I start here and cut back in. And again, this is kind of contrary to what you know, the direction that we normally would cut and stuff, but it made a lot of sense when I spoke to Roger about it. And again, you know, we're using pneumatic assist. It's not hand pushing, so it's not necessary to do things exactly how they were done, you know, traditionally. The center part of this leaf structure, I'm going to start back in. So I always like to start back and let all my lines and stuff flow from, you know, somewhere, rather than just starting at an abrupt point. Now I want this to be wider through here, so I'll slow down and watch it and try to make it nice and wide. If you can get the mark the first time, in other words, here without leaving any kind of space or not quite making it, it's always better, you know, because it keeps everything clean. Although you can come back in and pick up your angle again and you know, make another cut like I will back here in the beginning of the scroll. And a third lobe here again. The other nice thing is that point comes in and I can start at a nice abrupt point as well. So you can see that this goes very fast. You know, looks nice. You can do kind of traditional leaf structures. That's not a problem. I'm going to make a flower here in the center. So, but I got to get to that point, so I'm going to go back in here. I think this would be a good time to continue and fix that center part there. Of course, I'm using the Enset. And you can see, you know, you can cut very nice and smooth, bright, not leaving the progress marks if that's not what you want. You know, it all depends on how you adjust the tool on what you're doing. You see, it doesn't matter if I start out here, or I could have started here and gone the other way, but now I have to go to the opposite point and come back.